Hi guys, welcome to another video tutorial with me. We are continuing on in my mini series of wet on wet watercolor basic techniques. Really quickly, I am using the following products, which are also listed in the description below, so please feel free to check out the links there. So to start off, we are using, for colors, Mei Liang, my set of 48 watercolors. For paper, I am using my Rubens Sketchbook. And then for brushes, I am using my Princeton Neptune number 6, and then also the Princeton, I am using the Heritage number 1, but these are the two main brushes we'll be using for the whole series. So the 4 Velvetouch and then the 6 Neptune. The one Heritage is for details. I'm just going to keep it handy, but you could achieve the same effect by using just these two brushes. All right, so let's get started. We are going to start off by mixing some of the colors, and I have some very exciting colors for today, so I am very, very ecstatic about this. So we're going to be combining the following, this gorgeous peach, and we're going to make that peach today by mixing some vermilion and some white. Okay, so here we go. Getting some of my vermilion, I am going to just mix that on here onto my palette, and then washing off the color so I don't soil the white. I'm going to go ahead and get some white and mix that on here. And now we have this gorgeous peach, which I am so thrilled about. So imagine a peach sky. So, yes, we're doing, in today's Wet on Wet series, we are doing another skyscape because I loved the pastel candy, cotton candy kind of skies happening. So I think it's a great exercise to sort of get more acquainted with watercolor. And here we are doing another one. So you can use the number 6 to dampen your sheet if you want, but I'm going to use the wash brush just to dampen the sheet right away, and it's quicker for me this way. So I am dampening my sheet about halfway, and once I am certain that it is nicely damp, I'm going to stop dampening the sheet and allow this just for a couple of seconds to sort of penetrate the paper. And then we're going to go in and add strokes of our peach in the sky, and then I am going to get a little bit of the scarlet, either the scarlet or the magenta, somewhat of a pinky hue to add in our sky. Okay, and this scape is going to have a mountain as well. That's why I did this halfway. And yeah, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead holding my brush like this so I can span the whole length of my brush across. I'm just going to go ahead and do this and allow the color to seep into this area here where it's damp. The thing with wet on wet is this, that it needs to be damp for you to get that beautiful blend. The other thing with wet on wet that you need to note is when you leave space in between, you're able to get a nice blend and a softer looking blend because the color just seeps in and kind of blossoms into everything, right? So as we're going lower, I want to have smaller bars. You can see that I've almost like painted these bars in and sort of tapering off into the sky. So it gives you that illusion of a horizon. So I've left a little bit of white space. I'm going to get some of that magenta, mix it in here, and I'm just adding some of that in here. And have fun with this, guys. Like, remember, we are learning or getting more acquainted with this wet on wet, beautiful, romantic, loose style. And so don't be afraid to sort of either experiment with adding more water or going with a little less water. This is your time to really get acquainted with watercolor. And so I want you to get comfortable and brave trying new things. So what I'm doing over here is just smoothing out the rest of this color that I have here, because I want that nice gradual effect coming downward. So here we go. And the next thing we're going to do, as you can see, we've got that nice beautiful gradient happening. What we're going to do is I'm going to end this right here. I'm going to stop pushing the color around right at the bottom here and dampening the sheet. And I'm going to get some of my Payne's Gray, and I'm going to use my number 4 for that. So I'm going to get some of my Payne's Gray, and I'm mixing that with a little bit of the turkey blue, which is right there. And then we're going to create our mountains. And again, these mountains are going to be wet on wet. So what we're doing is just a hint of the mountains in the sky. So you got to make sure that it's nice and damp when we're doing this. And again, I'm going to have the mountains coming from here. So I'm just sort of lightly tapping on the sheet to sort of create this triangular shape. Getting more color, I'm going to sort of go ahead at the top here and add more of that. Remember the whole concept of leaving a little bit of white space in between the strokes, because it seeps in and it gives you that blend, which means it's covering more. So if you have any hopes of having like a smoother blend, you need to make sure that between your strokes you're leaving white space. White space is a huge important detail when it comes to loose watercolor. Now these look like little scratches on there, but what we're going to do is add more of that Payne's Gray just to highlight some of this area. So again, some wet on wet. So adding some just at the tips of the mountains to sort of really give it that mountain feel off in the distance, sort of in a hazy cloud almost. Adding some over here. And as it dries up, here's another thing to keep note or make note of. Notice how different levels of dryness or dampness give you different results of blending. So the longer we wait for this to dry, so we've got our base blue and then we're going in with this darker blue, and it's giving us a darker, more layered look, which is beautiful, and that's what we want. So I'm going just for the tips of the mountains to get that nice blend, and then allowing the rest to sort of just blend outward. And at this point, just get some lighter, so I've taken off some of the color and just kind of gotten a lighter blue. And what I want to do here is just get a semblance of a gradual dark to light effect here. And so that's what's happening over here. Okay. And at this point, if you want to add some trees, you can absolutely add some trees as well, because it's going to give you that nice blending effect like we just got over here. If you want to add another layer of like a hint of darkness, so like a third layer happening, you can. That might actually enhance it even nicer. Kind of give you some nice little peaks happening. And I'm not trying to go too crazy. So you can see how it like intensifies that color right away. So here we go. So now we can do our trees, or you can sort of dampen the area again if you feel like you have lost your dampness. So I'm just gonna lightly dampen this area some more. make sure that it's nice and light, so we've got a nice lighter feel for this. And again, remember about the space I was talking about, so you can just lightly add your strokes in, and the watercolor does all the moving around for you. Again, if you feel like it's moving too much, you can wait for it to dry just a tad before you go in and add your trees. And we're just, we want this to be super light and like literally just in the background. So again, notice how much space I'm leaving, and the watercolor is doing all the moving around for me, which is beautiful. And I'm just going to taper off here. I'm not covering this whole area with trees, just a little bit. And we're going to let this dry for a bit, and then we're going to come back and do some trees that are going to be overlapping in this area. So while this is drying, let's do the base real quick. So for the base, I want to do something like in the last video that we did. And again, if you've missed the last 3 videos, guys, I've listed in the description below, so feel free to check that out if this is not quite making sense to you. So the last video, we did our trees, and I did a line at the bottom and then took my wash brush or the 6 and then pull down the color from there. So we're doing a very similar tactic over here. We just want to allow this to dry just a tad bit, or if you want to just go ahead and do that right away, you can. So let's just, in the interest of time, I'm going to get some of that, what was it? Payne's Gray. And I'm leaving a little sliver of space between the trees that I've just painted, and just roughly painting in a horizon, so to speak. Whoops, dropped my brush. And then taking my brush, I am just lightly touching this and then allowing this blend to automatically come downward. And then using that color that's coming downward, I am just zigzagging across to give me some waves almost. So this could be some sort of water body, perhaps. I'm going to get some of the peach, and I'm adding that into my area here. So here we go. So now we've got a nice gradual from peach to the blue, and then from the blue to the peach happening. You want to intensify it, just throw in a slightly darker tone of peach, but I'm holding the brush like this to get this straight thin line, and I'm getting a nice line here into my blues while it is still damp. All right, so allow this to dry just a tad bit, then we go in and we add some darker trees, and then we're done. Okay, so it's sort of kind of dried up, and now we're going to go in and do our trees. So I've mixed more of the color over here, and I'm going to start off with doing, so I don't want the trees to be taller than what I have already, so they'll be about 75% coverage in terms of the height. So here we go. I'll do one over here first. So starting off here, and you can see it's still a little bit damp, which is fine because I want to have some of that blending happening. And I'm just doing little V strokes and sort of just dabbing away to get that nice pine tree sort of feel. This might take a little bit of practice if you've never done trees before. Take a sheet, you know, just watch what I'm doing, watch the movements, watch how I'm holding the brush, and practice away, and that'll really help you in getting these to look a certain way. So we've got one tree, and then I'm going to get another one about over here. It's fine if they are, and this one's kind of drooping downward. So we've got a variety of different trees, so to speak. So this intensity of color needs to be a lot more color, less water. And so this way you're getting it to stand out a lot more in comparison to what we have in the background with the mountains and such. Okay, remember the white space, that still applies for these trees. White space is your friend. These little exercises and these videos that we're doing will really help you get these principles in your painting, and these are the same concepts that you use throughout for other paintings, really. So you'll find yourself learning these techniques, getting more accustomed and used to watercolor, and then you'll be using them to create other things, so flowers or whatever else, really. So here we go. Let's do one more over here, making this a bit smaller, leaving that white space in there. And this one, I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom. I'm just going to leave that there. And let's see. I think we could leave it like this, but my heart is telling me to do just one more here. And go upward instead of downward. And just get a little more color. And you can even add trees with just like bald trees with just branches on there. So you don't have just like Christmas looking trees on here, just for a variety of different shapes, because I always say it's nice to have different shapes happening in your painting. Now you can use the number 4 to do these trees with branches, regular trees, or you can use the number 1 or number 2, whatever brush you have on hand that might be a bit smaller, giving you a tinier sort of radius. And I'm going to paint one in right here. So literally just a bunch of lines. You could the concept is like drawing a stem and then just having lines coming out of it, or branches coming out of it, however you want to word that. So again, you see how it kind of really breaks up the space, gives you some interesting detail in terms of shape. So I guess you could say texture almost. And you can leave it at the 1 or do another one if you wish. I'm going to do one more over here and make it smaller. Kind of like peeking out of this tree over here. Now take your time doing this. Don't feel like you need to rush through it. And just enjoy the whole process of creating this. Now I know we don't have a shadow at the bottom, so you can either leave it like this because this is an exercise to just sort of get accustomed to things, or take a very watered down version of your blue and you can lightly sort of add, very watered down, okay? So here we go. Notice me adding extra water, and you can just sort of lightly do these little strokes onto this area. So really it's a preference, like if you want to have this in there, you don't want to. Interpret this painting and make this yours. Go with the flow and have fun doing this. Have fun mixing the color, have fun adding these details or lack thereof, because loose, right? And notice what I'm doing is, as I'm going lower with this, I'm adding more water to my strokes, so then this way it's lighter. It's a dark to light sort of feel. And that's that. I'm going to leave it at this. So there we go. We've got another beautiful scene. Like, that looks super cloudy and pretty. I'm just going to dab off some of this. Yeah. Great blending. I hope this has opened up your eyes in terms of the different levels of blending you can get based on the dampness, and also the pretty color mixes that we have going on. There's so much you can do when it comes to creating art and, you know, making something your own. So I hope this was inspirational. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. It really does help my channel grow. And if you do end up doing this, please follow me on social media and tag me. I am on Instagram and I am on Facebook, and I would love to see your work. Thanks so much, guys, for watching, and we'll chat soon. Bye.